Hello and good morning. This is Esperanza Montalvo with the Therapist Tool 12, Corporate Entrepreneur. I'd like to share information this morning regarding the guide to keeping your job and advancing in the Canadian workplace as a new Canadian. The term new Canadian refers to anyone who is or has been in Canada for a very short period of time. But in fact, this presentation also applies for anybody who is in any place in the world and would like to come to Canada to work within the business culture of this country. So let's start with understanding the differences. I refer to three types of differences that we need to be aware of: the Canadian culture in the workplace, communication on the job, and the working relationships. We're going to talk about these three aspects throughout this presentation. As an employee, you have technical skills, and that's why you were hired, or that's why you will be hired in the business world. And these are very important to your success. However, it is the ability to communicate effectively, to build working relationships, and to work in harmony with your colleague and supervisors that help you to move forward and to really have success within your environment. All of this really encompasses what is called maintaining a professional attitude. So let's look at number one, Canadian business culture in the workplace. What am I talking about? What are we going to refer to? Well, though Canada is often called a nation of immigrants, many of you know that Canada is known for being multicultural. And in Canada, something that is very specific to Canada is that people don't become specifically Canadians, but they could become Italian Canadians, Chinese Canadian, Latin American Canadian. You could keep your culture and yet become a Canadian. And that's why when I talk about Canadian business culture, I'm referring to all of us. However, recognizing that obviously there are ethnic, cultural diversity differences that exist, and that although Canada is made of multiculturalism, there are a specific set of rules, of business rules that are maintained within the workplace. And so let's look at what I call professional behavior in Canada. This is a behavior that is professional in anywhere in the world, in fact. However, I'm just talking about this to remind ourselves and to keep it in front of us all the time, to act professionally while be courteous and respectful, and to have a positive attitude. This is something that it is very familiar and very we stress this quite a bit, the topic of positive attitude. And many people said also positive attitude is always smiling and always saying yes, yes. Well, not really. Positive attitude, and I'm sure you know, but I'd like to make an emphasis on what it really is someone who is solution-oriented, someone who can see a problem and find a way of solving it, someone who sees possibilities, someone who sees problems as opportunities. And so that's really what positive attitude means. And yes, it is highly valued in Canada. Another thing is to make an effort to support your manager and work well with your colleagues. This is a given, of course. Here's one that I stress quite a lot, and it is to take responsibility for what you do, for what I do. If you make a mistake, apologize and come up with the correct situation, or at least recognize that you made a mistake and that you are ready to make a change. Learn what your boss and your company expect of you. This, of course, is part of what we were hired for, but make sure that you aim to meet those goals, to make sure that the results that they're looking for are something that you're working on. And here is one, of course, be open to the new environment, because we came, and I include myself, we came to a new environment for a reason. Watch out, speak English at work. When we speak our own language, in my case, Spanish, we exclude others, and that's not a very good thing to do. Let's look now at what we call Canadian work values. Again, these values exist in other cultures, I want to bring this and give examples of what it means to use this in the workplace. Directness, honesty, openness. Here in Canada, we need to speak openly. We could express what we think, being aware that we are careful with other people's feelings. I know in certain cultures, other cultures, where you can speak the truth and speak up and say what you want to say without taking care of the feelings of others. Because I've been in Canada for so long and I've traveled quite a bit. I lived in Japan as well and worked in Japan. I know that Canadians, as we call it, the mainstream Canadians are known for being very compassionate. Someone who is, Canadians are very diplomatic, and they're known for always being careful of or taking into consideration the feelings of other people. I'm not saying that this doesn't happen in other cultures. I'm saying this is very prevalent in this culture. And you might find people who are completely the opposite, and that's okay as well. Now let's talk about equality. Status is less important than in other countries. In Canada, we don't talk about, Dr. So-and-so and engineer so-and-so or Mr. so-and-so. Pretty much the lateral authoritarian way of sharing authority is welcome in many companies and throughout the organizations. So equality is, it prevails in many of the organizations. Change, new ideas are well received, certainly. And I don't even have to stress this, because if we are here from another country, obviously we are open to change. Otherwise we wouldn't have left our countries. Informality, again, people relate in casual ways. As I said, we refer to people by their first names. No problem calling your boss by the first name, or even a CEO, depending on the relationship that you have with that person. Action and achievement, yes, results are important. Because I do training on or organizational behavior of people, and I know that some people are focused more on creating relationships, others are focused much more on creating results. Canada tends to be result oriented. I'm aware that also organizations are learning a lot from other cultures where building relationships is very important, is priority. So we're kind of amalgamating the fact that we need to be action-oriented, result-oriented, and also relationship-oriented. So you and I can bring that part of the strengths of our culture to the organizations. I'm not saying that they don't have it, it's just that certain cultures have it even more. So that's one strength that we can bring. Individualism and privacy, yes, individual needs. I remember one time there was an office where there were two desks inside the office, and one of the ladies was from an Eastern kind of culture, and she came and picked up a notebook from her co-worker's desk. Well, this lady didn't appreciate that because she felt that she was invaded. She didn't ask for permission. Well, I know that in certain cultures it is okay. If you are in one room, everything belongs to everybody. So let's watch out for that privacy or the individualism aspect of the culture. Privacy, when we're talking and we talk to people, think of the length of your arm as the distance between you and the other person. Again, some cultures you could be very close, but some people feel invaded if you are too close and talking to them face to face, and just feel some people feel crowded because of the space. Let's talk about self-direction. This is a very important one. Initiative is expected. I know that some cultures come from a hierarchical structure, a very prevalent hierarchical structure where authority is very prevalent or prevails, and there's a lot of respect towards authority, and you have to wait until you're told to do something. Well, in Canada, that hierarchical structure is kind of coming down a little bit, is more lateral, more horizontal. Authority is shared a little bit more freely. So you as an employee, you are expected to take initiative. You don't have to wait to be told what to do. And this is a very important point, very important aspect of the work value, of a Canadian work value. Time, as we all know, punctuality means respect. Be on time. That's very clear. We all know that Canadians are very punctual as well. This is a topic about managers that act like coaches, and I brought this into the presentation to confirm that managers are expecting employees to be more self-directed as they come into their groups. Again, because their managers are now working as coaches, and a coach is someone who doesn't tell people what to do, but directs people on what to do and directs people on how to becoming the best that they can be. And so the manager may decide what needs to be done and then let the employees figure out how to do it. So I believe this is clear. In North America, it is important to be clear and direct, and it is okay to disagree and stand up for our rights in a professional, objective manner, of course, without becoming too emotional. Again, there is a course called Emotional Intelligence where we are teaching employees how to talk about their needs and their frustrations and their pain and their desires without becoming too emotional, so that the conversation becomes a dialogue as opposed to a conflict or a fight or an argument. Now let's look at number 2, communication in the workplace. In Canada, no means no and yes means yes. I remember when I gave this presentation a couple of months ago, and the audience laughed about this because I gave an example. I know that, for instance, in Japan, and I lived in Japan, when you go and visit someone and someone offers you food, you're supposed to say no. And apparently it's about 5 times. No, 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 until you're allowed to say yes. I never asked the reason for it, but I assume that it is what is called a saving phase. In other words, you don't want to come to a house and show that maybe you're hungry, that you need to eat. That's the only, that's an assumption, but that's how I can put it. So we don't need, if in Canada someone tells you, do you want to do this? And you say no, that's it. They don't continue saying, oh, but, come on, let's do it. Why not? No means no, and yes means yes. The value of the spoken word is highly appreciated. Let's look now at cultural styles that can create a great deal of misunderstanding. Well, if you enjoy a heated argument, reserve this for your family gatherings. In other words, do not bring controversial topics at work. It's not a Canadian style to argue and become very passionate and discuss. Have these kind of conversations with your husband or wife, or your children or your friends, but do not bring this at the Canadian workplace. Now, for communication, pay attention to what I call ping-pong style of communication. In other words, you talk, you ask a question, the other person answers, and the other person might ask a question. So ask question, speak. Ask question, speak. Do not control the conversation for more than 2 minutes, because as you can see here, one of the things that Canadians do not accept is interruptions. If you like to talk for a long time, be sure to give the other person the chance to speak. Interruptions are not allowed, and I do know for a fact that in some cultures it is okay, and in fact it is much more fun and it sounds more enthusiastic. The conversation, it sounds more enthusiastic when people are interrupting and jumping in and ending, finishing the sentences. Not in the Canadian workplace. Now, asking questions. This is a topic that I'm passionate about, because asking questions is the way where you understand people, where you know what you need to do, where you can find out what's important, where you get to know the what thrives, what makes makes others thrive. Asking questions is one skill that I actually teach in one of my workshops. It's a one-day workshop. So look into it and become more comfortable with asking questions. I know that in certain hierarchical cultures, it is not okay. We were not born to ask questions because of the system itself. You don't question authority. You don't question your teacher. You don't question your parents. In Canada, it is okay to ask questions and do it because people appreciate that. People know that you want to hear different perspectives, that you are open, and that you are you're open-minded. So do practice asking questions. Eye contact, yes, use your eye contact to talk to people. It shows confidence, it shows respect, it shows interest. If you have a challenge with holding your eye contact, there is a little tip. Just look at the person in the eye and then turn your eyes to the shoulder or to the front head and come back to the eyes. So little tips that we teach during different workshops. Be direct and honest and to the point. Do not go around and around and around. Certain languages like Spanish, for instance, or the Latin language, Spanish, Italian, Romanian, Portuguese, and I can't remember the next one, goes around. It's like a circle, goes, round and round. Takes a little bit of time to get to the point, and maybe I'm doing it at this time. But the English language is called the language of business, and it is a very logical language. It is 1, 2, 3. Tell me what you want to say, tell me, and then tell me again. Very 1, 2, 3, so that things get done quickly, on time, and there is not opportunity for confusion. All right, let's look at something that I found very interesting to share with this audience, and it is phrases to use with your manager. Remember, we said that the positive attitude is something that is considered very important in the business culture environment. And so let's look at phrases that help us to reflect that winning attitude. Let's look at it. You can count on me to improve the bottom line. Thank you for the opportunity to sink my teeth into this project, to get into this project. Yes, I am able to make decisions. I like to achieve goals. This is a big possibility. By all means, of course, I'm ready. I'm committed to productivity, to results. Well, count on me. I like to gain experience in this project, and I'm ready to resolve the problem that comes up, and you can rely on me because I like to move forward. These are words that for some reason give the sense of possibility, opportunities, openness, and that's what managers like to hear. Now let's go into some that we can learn how to avoid because they create a different environment, a different feeling, a different energy. For instance, let's hear these sentences and tell me how you feel. Oh, I'm stuck with an unfair workload and I'm in panic. I can't handle it. Give me a break. That was John's fault. It's not my problem. Can you hear the attitude of this person? Of course you can. Or, oh, that's a damn idea. Oh, I'm so fearful to do that. This is a crisis. What a disaster. I'm bored. So just sense the energy that comes out with those words. I wrote a book, The Sharpest Tool to Wealth, How Your Words Create Your World, and I am an advocate that words create. There's more information on my website, thesharpesttooltowealth.com. Let's look in here now. Number 3, working relationships. Working well with coworkers and teammates, of course, is vital to the success on the job. So let's see what we're talking about. Something that happens very often, and especially on a multicultural setting, on a place where there's diversity, conflict happens. And let's see what I mean by conflict. Conflict is mainly a difference in opinion, and I am going to repeat this. When we know and when we look at conflict only as a difference of opinion, we get very happy and interested in resolving that difference, in looking at difference as an opportunity to explore differences, to listen respectfully, to understand other points of view, to keep in mind that differences enrich results, and always keep a win-win attitude when differences emerge. It's win-win or no deal is my philosophy in life. In other words, if you can't win and I can't win, we cannot do anything about a situation. But with that mindset, things are always resolved in a win-win way of problem solving. Thank the person who takes the time to work through differences, because it takes someone who is open to allow you to have that dialogue, and look at conflict as an opportunity to explore a different perspective and grow from it and create synergy. It is so wonderful when we look at different opinions as an opportunity to create synergy, in that there are times when it's not even my idea or the other person's idea, the one that gets chosen, but a third idea that is much bigger, only because we took the time to resolve the conflict or to look at the difference. Now, something that many of you probably have heard, and is the word harassment in the workplace. So let's look at some unacceptable workplace behaviors. Making jokes about race, ethnic origin, color, religion, sex, disability, or sexual orientation is a no-no. We need to become non-judgmental towards these topics. To look at someone in a suggestive way, that's considered harassment. So watch out. Let's be careful of how we look at people. Laugh at someone when they leave the room, or stop abruptly when someone enters the room. That indicates that perhaps they're making fun of that person, or that you are talking about that person. And that's considered very rude and inappropriate. To make personal remarks about someone's dress. Isn't that interesting? Yes, that's considered harassment. And if you have the opportunity to go to a company party, to wrap up against someone while dancing is considered harassment. If you want to know more about the behaviors, talk to your colleagues and find out what the business culture is. What are some of the taboos that exist in your office, and things that you should or should not do. Finally, here's a question. Is the business culture in your workplace different from your native country? Well, most of the time it is. And as I said, I've traveled quite a bit and I've experienced different cultural settings. And yes, even if it's something very small, each culture has their unique skills, their unique abilities, their unique gifts and talents, their uniqueness that makes them special. And coming to Canada, as I said before, even though it's multicultural, there is a special business culture. And here are 3 things that I recommend everybody to do when they enter in the business world. Number 1, always observe first and then do. Number 2, refrain from complaining and criticizing. And always understand that the difference exists for a reason. And number 3, feel comfortable asking questions. With these 3 recommendations, you can be sure that coming to a business culture that it might be new to you will be easier than if you don't consider these aspects and this information that I'm sharing here with you, because this is an eye-opener for any of you if you haven't already experienced, and obviously that's why you're listening to this, or maybe you have, but there is 1 or 2 points or 3 points that are new to you. When I did this presentation a couple of weeks ago, there was a gentleman from Africa who shared a very good experience with a Canadian colleague. Apparently, he said to him that obviously he was hired for his strong skills, technical skills. Obviously, he had the attitude because that's why he was hired. But that 3 things he could do to really continue to maintain his job and advance. And it is, number 1, to find a mentor. And I'm going to talk about this as I move to the next slide. To find a mentor, a person who can help you, a person who will give you support. Number 2, always maintain an open-mindedness, to be open to learn. And number 3, to make alliances with the people that are moving on, people that are making things happen. So I'm going to show you here what I mention as tips for managing office politics. Pay attention. Find movers and shakers, people who are making things happen. Become recognized as a serious worker. And obviously, many of the people that come from other countries, and including myself, when we come here, we want to do the best that we can, because we left our countries, we left our families, we left our environment to be here. Why wouldn't we be the best that we can be here as well? Don't bash, don't talk about anyone, especially your manager. Build alliances, build those friendships that are going to help you, that are going to support you, that are going to give you feedback, that are going to tell you what to do. And by the way, welcome feedback. Welcome what some people call positive criticism, or I can't remember now the name, but I call it feedback. Welcome feedback is one of the tools that will help you to change those little things that might not be working into those things that will work very well. Choose your friends wisely and be like Switzerland, remain neutral. And finally, always maintaining your winning attitude, which I know as a new Canadian myself, when I was a new Canadian many years ago, when we come to the business world, to a new country, we're so excited to learn and to change and to adapt and to do the best that we can be, that I don't have to repeat this. Maintain your winning attitude is a given. And finally, it is better to be respected than to be liked. This is Esperanza Montalvo. Until our next session, bye for now.